Warning, this video is by Gooners for Gooners. Viewer discretion is advised. Ever since watching the newest Chainsaw Man movie, I've been repeating a certain phrase. It's not any phrase from the movie, it's kind of as a joke, but also kinda not. The phrase is, Reze is so hot. I've just been saying that to my friends out of context whom I watched the movie with. I say it as a joke to play into the bit of being a degenerate gooner, which I am, but also kinda because she is. She is just one of the hottest characters I've seen in a while, and instead of gooning just like any normal gooner would, I decided to look into it and study the art of gooning. What makes a character hot? How do you write a hot character? And why is Reze so goddamn sexy? Those questions will all be answered in this video, and this shit goes deep. Like, I came up with a whole theory with graphs and everything that uses real psychology and stuff, so take some notes and prepare to have your mind blown up, like Reze, because she's the, yeah, never mind, just ignore that. It was funnier in my head. Okay, never mind, onto the video. Oh, also some spoilers for the movie and also some about other characters such as Makima, so here's your warning. Reze is hot. Everyone knows this. Everyone on the internet is going insane over her smile, her dance. Reze is hot. That much is a fact at this point, but why? What exact qualities and what writing choices create this effect? I think one of the most important factors is verisimilitude, or the feeling of possibility that that character can actually exist. First off, let's talk about character design. I'll get into the more science stuff later in the video, but I have to set the background for some stuff, so don't leave. I promise this is all important. What I think makes her design so visually appealing is the verisimilitude of it all. She doesn't have triple Z's or any obnoxious proportions, which often have the opposite effect, making a character look less sexy and more, what the fuck am I looking at? Why is her tit as big as her entire torso? Holy body horror. Look at Reze versus someone like Shizune Fujinoki from My First Girlfriend is a Gal. Seriously, what the fuck am I looking at? Why is her tit as big as her entire torso? Holy body horror. Reze certainly has traditionally appealing features with a long, slender general build. And also, I know that some people are into the what the fuck am I looking at? Why is her tit as big as her entire torso? Holy body horror type of girls. Don't come into the comments saying some bullshit like, well, some people like them, because sure, but some people also have scat fetishes. I'm talking about what the majority of people would find attractive. Traditional attractiveness, not any insane niche fetish stuff, which if you're into, that's completely fine. It's just not what we are talking about today. But talking more about the verisimilitude and realness of her character design, let's look at her fashion. Though her iconic white shirt, choker necklace, and short skirts are revealing and suggestive, it's not overly obnoxious. Like, I've seen real people dress similarly, and her other clothes, like the one we see when we first meet her, just seem like things a college girl would wear. Her hair is somewhat loose and relaxed, her book back seems schoolgirlish. She just seems like a girl you can meet anywhere. And to me at least, that just makes her design even so much more intimate and close to home. Even her iconic facial expression, the whimsical half smile, is extremely realistic. The slight blushing mixed with the playful smile designed to not be overly dramatic, but instead hinting only slightly at her obvious emotions, really just seems so normal. Her entire design is meant to portray a normal girl, which was her entire goal if you saw the big reveal at the end. She's meant to portray what a normal, quiet, and safe life could look like to Denji. This makes it feel more like you know her personally, as everyone knows a girl kinda like her. Look at that in comparison to Makima, who's also hot, which I'll talk about in just a second. But Makima, with her obviously more flashy design with the bright pink colored hair, conversely represents opportunity, lavishness, and living the best life possible despite the possible dangers. This was a concept explored very deeply in the movie, with the city mouse, country mouse metaphor used constantly. Reze also has the traits to match this look. She's coquettish, flirtatious, and outgoing, all traits that match this. She doesn't fall under any trope, like she's not a tsundere or something, which pretty much only exists in fiction, but she instead just has a well-rounded personality with actions to show. Look at the way she's laughing with Denji. The way she's patting him while doing so is definitely flirtatious, but it's not ridiculous. I know girls that behave that way. Even her speech and voice feel realistic. She doesn't have any glaring anime-ness, if that makes sense. You know how people think anime characters talk like this? Yeah, they do a similar thing in Japanese too. Most people just don't notice it because they don't speak Japanese or know what everyday conversational Japanese looks like. That's why, if you only know Japanese from anime and went to Japan, you would sound like a clown, even with perfect pronunciation. But Reina Ueda does an extremely good job at making all of the lines sound like relatively realistic Japanese, and it's really hard to reach this effect. You have to be both expressive and exact enough with your tone to set up the right mood and match the animation, while being subtle and tone it down a very specific level to really sell being realistic. Her body language and the way she moves around doing mundane things is also very well animated for this exact effect. This is why people got so much more attached to Reze compared to Makima. People call her hot, people call her mommy, people say that they want her to step on them, sure, but they don't get as emotionally attached. Makima feels more like a character with her cool personality. Reze feels more like a real human being. She has a real job, real looking design, real sounding voice acting, real looking body language, no unnecessary monologues to tell us how she's feeling right after showing the same thing. And the fact that we see a variety of modes and emotions too makes her a truly multifaceted character. We see her be playful and we see her be a bit more serious, but we also see her be playful and serious at different levels. It's not just one or the other. It's a spectrum, not like the one I must be on, which makes me do shit like make videos on YouTube about why a fictional character is sexy, but in the way that it's a gradual change from one emotion or mood to the opposite, rather than a switch. What many writers do wrong, especially in anime and manga, is to treat emotions as a binary. They're either kind or an absolute toxic bitch, the tsundere trope. They're either happy, sad, or angry. Think Inside Out almost. You know how in the first movie Riley had extreme emotions? She was happy, sad, angry, disgusted, or nervous, but as she grew up, she developed more complex ones with mixes of each one. Each memory had a different mix of different emotions. Though still a super simplified version, that is way closer to what actual people are like. Now think like Sakura from Windbreaker. He has one mode, tsundere tsundere tsundere, or Sung Jenu, nonchalant and apathetic, or happy that one time because his mom woke up. He pretty much hasn't shown a single other mode. Or even some Genki girls, which I love my Genki girls, but look at that one girl from Mieruko-chan. Happy, 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 all at the same level at all times. These are not good characters, they're more like concepts of characters or caricatures of certain emotions. Now look at someone like Tamaki Mari from A Place Further Than the Universe. Even though her primary mode is silly and carefree, she has others such as sadness, but within those primary modes are levels of that mode. Look at her in the OP with her messing around while being super tanned. Super silly. Look at her while she's cracking jokes with Hinata. A little less silly. Now look at her in the tents with everyone while cracking jokes.
古かにしてくださいって何？一応先輩だから言い直したんです。もう言いたいことはわかるからいいじゃないですか。古かにしてください。いいからやめろ決まり。
Even less silly. Now look at Reze.
一緒に飲みますか。へいへいマスター。私と彼にコーヒーを。
Super silly and outgoing here. A little before, she was laughing and being a bit silly, but also was toning it down as she just met the guy.
あ、何？だよ、てめえ。
Look at her laughing at Denji as he drinks coffee.
何その顔。絶対強がってる。子供だ子供。
Not obnoxiously silly, but just like a friend making a joke. So her multifaceted gradient emotions mixed with her realistic mannerism and character designs really make her feel real, which makes us feel more intimately towards her, and her general likability and other traits such as confidence add to sexiness. Though not an academic journal, this article by Shanprit Singh, I feel, does a very good job of explaining sexiness in general. He explains that sexiness is often more than just a physical attribute, but more a feeling. It's essentially intimacy and feeling good while being with someone. Reze is exactly this. She's a generally happy person that makes you feel good. What I have to disagree with Singh on is the sexy part. I think it's less sexy and more attractive. So what makes someone sexy or hot? I think the situation between Charles Boyles and his partner from Brooklyn Nine-Nine in the episode titled Funeral explains this well.
My friends are just in my head. They think it's weird that we don't know anything about each other.
I think it's hot.
Totally. I'm glad we're not interested in each other as human beings.
They think that it's hot to not know about someone. I think that's it. That explains sexy. You see, there are two main types of attractiveness: cute and sexy. Cute, while it is possible to be sexual, is the more innocent type of appeal. Mitsuha, Tamaki, Bochi, all cute. Sexy is the more adulty, more mysterious one. And I think mystery is ultimately what makes someone sexy. It's not knowing about the other person. But Noah, before you were talking about how the characters must be well defined and have definite traits. How can you do this while making someone mysterious? Are you guys familiar with the Uncanny Valley? It's actually a graphical representation of the solely human phenomenon of finding things creepy. There are many different theories as to why this is, but the graphical representation is this. The x-axis is how humanoid something is, or how close to being human something is. And the units are a percentage, so all the way right is 100% human, meaning that it is straight up a person. And on the leftmost side would be 0% human, so anything that isn't human, so a rock, a pen, whatever. The y-axis measures affinity, or basically how much we like something. The graph starts at the origin, with both affinity and humanness being at 0. That makes sense, as normally you don't specifically have an emotional affinity to things like rocks or leaves. This trend continues. As we move towards being more human, the affinity naturally goes up, until it just dips down all the way down for some reason. Those are the things that look almost human, like super close, but just aren't somehow. Think zombies or creepy ass robots. They're almost like humans, they have humanoid features, they're relatively human sized, have arms, legs, a torso, a face, but for a zombie, the whole body is rotten and decaying and just yucky. For a creepy ass robot, their face or their voice or the way they move is just a bit stiff and everything is just a bit off. Once you get even closer to 100, you escape the valley and the affinity just goes straight to 100 as that thing is just a human. Sorry, that took a little bit longer than expected to set up, but I want to present the graph of the sexy hill. The x-axis would be how much you think you know about someone, so the perceived understanding of that person, and the y-axis would be how sexy someone is. Take note that the x-axis is the perceived understanding, or how much you feel you know someone, not how much you actually know about them, and the y-axis is not attractiveness, it is sexiness or hotness. This is also assuming that the person or the level of physical attractiveness remains relatively similar, which is perfect in anime as, let's be real, most characters are very similar in physical attractiveness. The y-intercept is not 0 here. At x equals 0, the y is above 0. This is because physical attractiveness does inevitably play a role in how hot someone is. As you move towards knowing more and more about someone, emotional intimacy increases and so does their level of sexiness. However, at a certain point, near maybe x equals 50-ish, the level of sexiness quickly spikes up and comes back down as you reach 100. That shape, that's the sexy hill. Why it initially goes up makes sense, but the going down may not to some of you. That's why it's important that the Y is sexiness, not attractiveness. Also, know that attractiveness can mean many things, including cute, emotional, or whatever else. You may still be attracted to someone at x equals 100, but just not necessarily sexy. At that point, other feelings such as cute, tragic, love, and many more take over. That's why at the end of the movie, when the movie tells us about who Reze truly is, when we feel that we fully understand her, her sexiness goes down. We aren't thinking about how sexy she is at that point, we are thinking about how tragic she is. That's also why you may think Makima is hot. You don't know what she is thinking at all. We think we know her as she gets closer to Denji, but the show also keeps a lot from us, making her sexiness go up. Her being the dominant controlling type may also have an effect on not knowing who she is, as that is giving up total control, meaning that you know less about what will actually happen. That thrill could amplify this effect for some. Once we figure out her true nature, it's again less sexy and more disgusting or despising. This also explains a lot of slice of life or moe characters and why we don't find them necessarily sexy. First off, the fact that their physical appearances are less appealing already sets them at a lower starting place, but more importantly, those types of shows aren't about discovering character, they're more about seeing a character we already know and love do cute things. We feel that we already know who they are by episode 1. Just watch one episode of A Place Further Than the Universe or Bocchi the Rock, and you can pretty much tell me what type of person the main characters are. So our perceived understanding of the character is always 100. There's no mystery, so their sexiness is 0, but their cuteness or how funny they are may be much higher. Okay, one more example, and this is an important one. Think of the sexiest model you know. They likely aren't smiling. They're likely making the typical model face of looking like they don't care, almost giving a resting bitch face, but most importantly, not showing emotion. Since they aren't showing emotion, you don't know what they're actually feeling. That's why they do that facial expression. That's why they are so hot. But you may be thinking, oh, but I don't think I know these people at all. There isn't character development or anything, it's just a picture. I have an answer to that as well. It's the halo effect. The cognitive bias people tend to have that makes people attribute totally unrelated positive traits to someone with another positive trait. So, for example, if you know that someone is smart, it is likely for you to think that they are also nice people. This isn't necessarily true as there's no correlation between being kind and being smart. But this is a cognitive bias, so people have the tendency to make this mistake. The same thing can be applied for physical attractiveness. If someone is physically handsome or pretty, then your brain subconsciously attributes other positive traits to them, making you think that you know more about them than you actually do. That amount with the cognitive bias, the amount that you think you know about them, the subconscious, just passes the threshold for the sexy hill. This also explains a lot of other things like why people have certain kinks and fetishes, and I thought of this all on my own, so I'm super proud of this. Like, I'm struggling to find the case where this doesn't apply. So if you can improve this model, have cases where this doesn't apply, or can even attempt to explain why this is the case, please leave a comment. I am genuinely curious here. This shows the graphical correlation, but not necessarily the causation or reasoning behind the hill, so let me know. Even if you aren't 100% sure, just throw it out there. My guess is that it's similar to the benign violation theory of comedy. It states that we find things funny because something is a violation of what you expect while also not being harmful. A joke has a violation that is sometimes risque or socially not acceptable. Stand-up comics do this, but also it's benign as you know they don't really mean it and that it's all a joke. If someone's saying something insane, they're like ripping slurs or something, that's also a violation of social norms, but that's malign. That's not okay or in good fun, so it becomes not funny. I think the sexy hill can be explained in a similar fashion. Due to comedy, we already know that a benign violation can evoke positive feelings. So what if a benign mystery can do the same? You wouldn't find a creep sexy even if you don't know all about them because you're scared. That's malign. But if you know or feel like someone is safe, for example, you see a pretty girl, that can also evoke positive feelings. Maybe that's not a perfect explanation, but that's my attempt. So yeah, let me know. Also, while you're at it, leave a like and sub. My next goal is 100k before the end of the year, which seems insane, but I know it's doable. Help me out. The reason Reze is especially hot and why people are going feral over her is a combination of everything I've mentioned. Her placement on the sexy hill and how much we know about her contributes a lot, making her feel really appealing. But what amplifies that to the crazy amount it has is the intimacy of her character traits and design. We feel closer to her, she feels more personal. And though this video started off as a joke, I think I went really deep into this and it was really fun. I'm also beginning to realize just how well Tatsuki Fujimoto, the mangaka behind Chainsaw Man, innately understands humans and things like this. I mean, he wanted Reze to represent the country mouse, he wanted her to feel personal, he wanted her to be hot, and he really did the design, character writing, and the mood setting so perfectly to create this effect. I think that already makes him one of the goats of manga, and I'm excited for what's to come. I'm about to come. You know how YouTubers always say, if you've made it this far, thank you. Well, if you've made it this far, thank you, but not for finishing the video or for giving me that sweet revenue. But thank you for enjoying it enough to finish it. I've always loved entertaining people, and just the thought that some of you finished the entire video makes me happy. Anyways, there you have it. My name is NoahBoahCoah. I goon, of course I goon, but still yet I remain an ethical schooner. And thank you for gooning.
Forever if you keep it tight. Love the world, but keep the sky on your mind.